1.
Welcome everyone to today's webcast as we discuss the passenger experience and how we can improve level of service. I'm Josh Smith, editor at Aviation Pros, which is home to Airport Business, Ground Support Worldwide, and Aircraft Maintenance Technology magazines. I will be your moderator today, and I'm pleased to be joined by Giorgio Medici, Head of Customer Care at SEA Airports Milan, and Delphine Hornez, CRM Manager at SEA Airports Milan. Giorgio and Delphine will be sharing with us some steps taken by officials at their airport to improve the passenger experience. A positive traveler experience can dramatically benefit an airport's bottom line, but making key improvements requires time and resources, which can be challenging in a fast-paced industry. Much like other areas of aviation, big data can be utilized to make informed choices to improve a passenger's airport encounter. Today, we will cover best practices for leveraging technology and customer feedback to arrive at sound decisions for improving the passenger experience without creating unnecessary costs. But before we get started, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. First of all, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please let us know by commenting in the question box on your screen. Also, this presentation is being recorded and will be available on demand shortly after we conclude today at aviationpros.com. During the presentation, feel free to submit questions at any time using the question submission box on your screen. Comments and suggestions are also welcome. At the end of the webcast, we'll try to answer as many of your questions as possible, and any questions we don't get to will be answered offline via email. With that, it's now my pleasure to introduce Giorgio Medici and Delphine Hornez. Giorgio joined the airport business in 1992 as a project manager at SEA Informatica, responsible for airport systems in the Malpensa 2000 project. His first responsibilities at SEA Airports Milan were in airport operations with the opening of the new Malpensa Airport in 1998. In 2002, he became Airside Services Manager in the new SEA Handling Company. In 2004, he was called to work on regulation projects for SEA Airports Milan to supervise the deregulation process in the handling market at Milan. From 2007 to 2008, he was responsible for commercial and management issues in SEA handling after the Alitalia dehubbing in Malpensa. Since 2008, he has been working as customer care manager to develop a customer approach to design dedicated contact services at SEA. Delphine graduated in business administration at Bocconi University. She currently is working for SEA Airports Milan as the person responsible for the customer relationship management unit. She has also been in charge of the customer satisfaction system since 1990 and has managed to get it into the DNA of the company. With that, Giorgio, Delphine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Josh, and good morning to everybody. It will be me just to introduce the first line to present the first part of the presentation, and then Delphine will take the floor for the more detailed explanation about our experience in Milan related to the use of instant feedback for quality satisfaction measurement. Well, first of all, I just give you a very brief introduction to our airport. In Milan we have two main airports, Malpensa and Linate. Linate is the city airport. Malpensa is the main airport with two terminals managing managing the intercontinental international traffic for Milan, and is also the main airport where all our best experience have been developed to improve and to make innovation in customer experience. Our airports manage globally about 30 million passengers and serve Milan, which is the main commercial and economical area in Italy. Just the figure is the Lombardy, the region, is 10 million people, the population, which is about 1/6 of the total Italian population, and is more or less the population of Denmark, just to give you an idea about the importance of this region. What I want to share with you is how we, in our airport, we have worked to improve quality as a business leverage, and what are the main metrics, the main methodology and tools that we have introduced to do that. Specifically, our scope was since 2012 to boost the issue of the customer experience, as we well understood that this was a main element, a main leverage to not only to make our airport competitive, but also to make our non-aviation, specifically non-aviation business profitable. About this point of quality as a business leverage, it was something that it was, how can I say, I would say understood by airport managers, but until 2016, we had no analytics saying and showing the link between the quality and economics. And I think that one major document was issued by the Airport Council International, ACI, in 2016, where it was demonstrated, shown, starting from the data that ACI can manage, that the main leverage to increase the non-aviation revenue is actually the satisfaction, the passenger satisfaction, when we compare it to the number of passengers, the size of commercial area, and well, what we demonstrated is that an increase of 1% of each one of these elements, of course, generate an increase in non-aviation revenue. But the most effective, the most power leverage we have is the passenger satisfaction. And the figures are on this slide, showing that the increase of passenger can move non-aviation revenue from 0.7 to 1%. The commercial areas about 0.2, but the passenger satisfaction can generate, on average, a growth of 1.5. This with a 1% of increase on each of these dimensions. There are several metrics that are used in the airport industry. Our experience is specifically on customer satisfaction index, that in US may be well known as American Customer Satisfaction Index, and this is a metric that is well known for the consumer and service industry. Is very much used and applied since the end of the 80s in the US and the UK to measure the commitment and also the results of a company on customer satisfaction. It's used also to evaluate companies which are on the stock exchange. And this is also something that has been demonstrated as very much linked to the performance of a company. How is it managed? Well, maybe most of you can know what is the overall satisfaction. In the customer satisfaction index is something similar, but not exactly this, because we can just ask a passenger to tell us whether how much he is satisfied about his journey through the terminal, and but we also ask other two questions: his satisfaction versus his expectation for this specific airport, and more generally, his satisfaction versus what is his ideal airport. And combining these three questions, we generate the so-called customer satisfaction index. The interesting thing is that this matrix is representing very well what is the distance between the expectation of our customers and what we actually are offering in terms of services, in terms of premises at our airports. You see here the so-called causal model of the customer satisfaction index, where the service dimensions are listed on two different levels. So having a key performance indicator on level 1 means that, for example, security or the boarding process at gates or the feeling of safe at airports or the parking, well, an increase of satisfaction on each specific performance indicator among these one have a direct impact on the customer satisfaction index, while the second level key performance indicators are indirect. So to say that the combined effect of what you see in the level 2 list generate a powerful impact, a great impact on customer satisfaction index when combined together. You see there things like toilets, a well-known issue for airport managers, baggage cart, restaurant, retail, and so on. All these things together are grouped in the so-called ambience. And if you increase ambience satisfaction, again, you will have a direct impact on customer satisfaction index. So I show you what happens in the period when we made the major changes in Malpensa Terminal 1. And you see that over the quarters from 2013 until 2016, when we ended the main part of the refurbishment of the terminal, the restyling, so when we had the terminal under heavy works and the passenger had to also see and make the experience of premises which were under restructuring, well, the customer satisfaction index really decreased down to 70 in a scale from which is 0 to 100, and then opening and closing different action like opening the new security area, or finally opening completely the new commercial offer, brought back the index to a level of 75, and 75 for the airport is a very good level. Just to tell you, if we compare it to airlines, 75 is something that can hardly be reached by legacy carrier, at least at that time. Now, if you can see also on website of American Customer Satisfaction Index, if you look for the industry of transportation, aviation, you will see that in the last years airlines invested a lot, and also their index are increasing. But this is also showing that we are aligned with the industry, and we have a great tool to develop and to measure our investment.
So Giorgio, just to make sure that we understand this graph correctly, in 2013 and 14, the restyling of Malpensa T1 took place, and in 2015, new security control premises were in effect, and it led to an uptick in customer satisfaction index scores in 2016. Can you tell us a little bit about how things are looking for 2017 and 2018?
Yes. You see, this index works so well that actually my salary is also affected by the results of this index, and 140 managers within our company are paid against this index. And what happened is that we are going on in our restructuring, and we are seeing that when we are doing works, the areas or the terminal altogether affected by the works see this index decreasing again. And whenever and wherever we do something good, like we are doing now in the new terminal, in the terminal 2, in the second terminal of Malpensa, the level is 72, which is exactly the value where reached by EasyJet, which is the only low-cost carrier operating as Terminal 2 Malpensa. So you see that we see the index, which is going up and down according to what we are doing. And to close close my answer, our industrial plan has a target, which is to bring all our terminals in the range between 75 and 80, according to the plans that we have to restyle and restructure all our premises. I hope this. I don't know if it answers to the question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I go on introducing now what instant feedbacks deal with what we have said until now about our metrics used to manage and develop customer satisfaction. Well, one point is that one issue is that the customer satisfaction index, like all the metrics based on surveys, interviews, and perceived quality measurements, usually can give you an idea about how you are actually performing only after that things happened. So actually, of course, they are useful to take decision, but when you see the result, sometimes it's too late to correct the situation. Actually, we say that it was like driving, watching to the rear mirror and not looking through the windshield of a car. And so we were looking for something that can be used to predict the trends on one hand, and also to have a clear understanding of what is going on day by day, to take action and to make some initiative whenever and wherever it's needed to go through, just to go towards the targets that we have fixed for the specific area, specific process, specific period. And so this was for us something that can be used. What we were looking for was a sort of a car navigator for an airport navigator system, something that can show us where we have to go. A great tool was to introduce, and this was done, if I remember well, in the 2013, for maybe in the first experience we made, we introduced the HappyOrNot, in our case, to collect the passenger reaction day by day, hour by hour, in specific points of the terminal. I want now Delphine to take the floor and go on explaining what we have done and what is our experience, as Delphine was actually the project leader of all this activity here in Milan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Delphine Hornez, and I would like to talk about instant feedback leverage, and in particular about HappyOrNot. Okay. HappyOrNot is a simple, attractive, intuitive device. It recalls toys appearances. That means gamification. It's a strategy to engage passengers to get their opinion. And in fact, HappyOrNot it attracts the instinctive attitude to press the button, drawing a person to select one of the 4 brightly colored faces, asking to make a clear choice between positive and negative opinion. And so you have 2 positive and 2 negative buttons, and none in the middle. The performance. As you see in this chart, we have 3 graphs. The green one is about the average time, the average waiting time for the security service. And the blue graph is about 90 percentile of waiting time, and the blue line is about customer satisfaction that HappyOrNot give us by hour. This is possible so to do the correlation between waiting time and and customer satisfaction. So it's important that you can see that there is a correlation between the customer satisfaction and the waiting time, but not always. For instance, at 6 p.m. 18, you can see the graph decline, and this is due to the shift work. So we work about these things too. When you have the data every hour, you can manage the operating system and the operative stuff. So the next, okay. This chart show you the correlation between waiting time at 90% here and the customer satisfaction index. So you can see that if the time is really short, you have very high customer satisfaction. But is it really important to understand that if you have a short waiting time and a high customer satisfaction, you have a very high standing attitude to commercial people. And but this data, we have this data because we have a very high redemption. We have about it's about 2 million click HappyOrNot in Milan airport. And in a security area, as you have seen before, it's a very important area for the customer satisfaction index. It's about 12% of passengers that click in this area. So we have the data per hour and per day. The benchmark in Europe of HappyOrNot, it's about 82.41% of people who are satisfied. It's a quite high result. This means that airports make a lot of attention in this service. And in Europe, we have 26 million clicks.
Now, Delphine, before you move to the next slide, may I just ask to make
Please,
less time travel. The less time that travelers wait, the better their satisfaction scores are. And with that, does the percentage of their spending in commercial areas increase while staffing and equipment costs decrease?
Yes, when you have a high satisfaction and people are more satisfied, they have the mood and the spending attitude, so they have the mood to go to shop. And but this to have a very short waiting time, you have to invest very in equipment and staffing at security service. So you have to make a balance and a trade-off between these two areas. But,
okay, thank you.
So at the end, we can conclude that significant data at daily and hourly level support operational control. Passengers help us to improve and standardize the level of service. HappyOrNot help us to have all this data and to manage this big data, because it's really data in real time and a very high number of data. In about 2 years of analysis, we noticed that there is a relationship between the causal model supporting customer satisfaction index methodology and the instant feedback data collected by HappyOrNot. If feedback is collected according to the causal model of customer satisfaction index, the combined HappyOrNot index reflects to the customer satisfaction level. So instant feedback will become a sort of short-term preview of high-level indicator, because if you have the data by how, you can manage the staff, and you can make all your shift work, but with survey you cannot do this kind of operation. So by combining the two methodology, a cooperative quality-driven journey to business target will be possible. So it's really important to have these two kinds of information. Okay. There's a question.
Okay. Okay. I saw there's a question which is related to the trend of international passengers in terms of waiting time between cross-Atlantic flights out of Europe. Very shortly, we had a change in the external EU borders last year, which really penalized the situation. But on one hand, there are two major actions we are in place. One is the introduction of the so-called automatic border control systems, and the pre-clearance that is something that should help at least on arrival in the U.S. We are not using in this case at the moment the instant feedback for the passport area, just because the police doesn't like it very much. Oh, well, they are just saying, okay, we accept to be measured in terms of waiting time, but we don't like to be measured in terms of customer satisfaction. I guess this is an issue in progress. I see. Well,
maybe we can try with e-gates.
Yes.
After control, automatic gate. So we can try with this area.
Mm-hmm. Second question I see. This data is looking at waiting time to get through security into the secure area, and the conclusion is that the quicker travelers get through security, quickly the finding is that they spend more on restaurants and retail. Yes. What is the wait time in the secure area before passengers board their flights? And okay, about this, yes, the answer is a scope. One of the target, one of the aim was to let the people into the commercial area the sooner that we could. We shared with Heathrow Airport a study which demonstrated that you need to have as much as possible passenger in the commercial area in between 45 minutes to boarding up to 90 minutes. So if you can have the maximum number of passengers between 45 and 90 minutes before the boarding, you will have the best spending attitude for these people. And this was combined also in this was an analysis which was combined and used to demonstrate why we had to increase 50% the capacity of security, and to demonstrate also that the return on investment, which was about 2.5 years more or less. Josh, I go through the question. I go on.
Yes, I am. And thank you all for submitting your questions, and please feel free to continue posting those questions. I have another one here for Delphine. And the question is, I've seen kids playing with the terminals at airports. How can you trust the data that's collected?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it happens that some kids play with the HappyOrNot device, but it's not a problem because we have lots of data, and so it's about when you have 2 million data, 100 or 200 click are from kids. It's really it won't impact on the result.
Well, thank you. And another question that we have here, and perhaps Delphine, you can answer this one as well. How often do you communicate the results of the data collected with the staff?
Yes, the results are sent daily to operative staff, and weekly to exec and monthly to executive. But also we have some alerts in real time, and these alerts are going directly to the operative staff who can manage the solution of the problem.
Very good. There is another submitted question we have. The question says, how does SEA balance security with passengers who request expedited arrival services?
Yes, I see. At the moment, Well, here the question is related to arrival services and arrival services in terms of security. Of course, we have some issue with the transit passengers at the moment, but not relevant one. I mean, after the dehubbing of Alitalia, when Alitalia stopped hub operation in Malpensa, the share of transit passengers is now not so relevant. Nevertheless, for departure passenger, we had and we are improving also services in terms of fast tracks. That is a commercial option offered to airlines, to single passengers, to VIP, to access and to enter dedicated lanes where a limited waiting time is guaranteed.
I see. Okay.
I was looking to another question with, okay, please, Josh, go on, and then I will just...
Yeah, it looks like we have time for one final question here. And the question, I think, Giorgio, perhaps this is the best one for you to answer. What other improvements has your team done that has shown some growth in your non-aeronautical revenue?
Yes. Well, I think that when we discovered and we assessed this relation between instant feedback and the high-level metrics, which was actually a really advantage for us to understand where we can provide, when we can improve the customer satisfaction best. Everything is going is trying to exploit this opportunity at the best we can. In particular, what we are doing now is to extend the perceived quality detection to other areas, and mainly to combine them with the behavior of the passenger when they are going through the terminal. I can say also, to answering to another question which is very much linked to this one. There was someone was asking what could be the value of IoT solutions to measure passenger experience metrics. Well, actually, is something that is an approach very much shared by most of the airports now, to deploy a platform, an IoT platform, which allows us to track the behavior of the passenger and to link the satisfaction, the instant feedback data to the passenger flow monitoring. This is something that is going to be developed in Milan over this year, I think, and the next year in 2019. But we already have experience of connecting, for example, the performance at passport control with the performance of food and beverage. Because if you don't manage properly the queuing at passport control, for example, you will see passenger escaping the commercial area to go through the passport, and so all this kind of information are too much strategic to properly manage this kind of dynamics. I hope this could be an answer for your question.
Yes, very good. Well, I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters for taking the time to share all of this important information. If you have an additional question, we can answer that via email, and you can also email the address that you see on your screen now. Again, I'd like to thank HappyOrNot for sponsoring today's presentation. We'd like to remind you all that this program will be made available for viewing online at aviationpros.com, and it will be accessible in our archives for 1 year. You will also receive an email at the conclusion of this program with additional information regarding the recorded presentation. Thank you from all of us at Aviation Pros. This is Josh Smith. Have a great day.
Thank you very much to all.
Goodbye.